Hi, I'm Amanda Jane, and welcome to the Communicate with Confidence podcast. My aim is to take the fear out of communicating and make it easy and fun. On this podcast, I'm going to be talking about everything to do with good communication, how we can connect with our audience, get better at speaking and giving presentations, increase visibility, and ultimately get more sales. I'll also be talking to some incredible people about their business, and I'll be getting their insights on how they view communication and how comfortable they are showing up in person and on social media. So let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Communicate with Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Jane, and today my guest is Lucy Piper. Hello, Lucy.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And your business is Any Little Thing, and you help people find the right care for elderly loved ones. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. The home help service, Any Little Things, a home help service here in Essex. So we've been running for about 7 years. And on that journey, I've learnt that there's not an awful lot of help and support when it comes to finding the right care for your elderly loved ones. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling to find the right care. So as well as much of a great social care system we have, and healthcare system, I think it's in a need of a little bit of extra help.
Well, we will find out a little bit more about that later on. But before we start, have you had a chance to think about your motivational song?
Well, I went to an event years ago, and this song, whenever it comes on the radio, always makes me feel really like I can take on the world, and all of my mad entrepreneurial and personal ideas are always going to work, and that's the Katy Perry Raw song. But I can't tell you why. It just obviously must be somewhere in my brain that goes, oh, we like this song, yeah, come on.
It's activated. I love that one. That's a really good way to describe it. So something
Yeah,
just
every
triggers
time
in
it
your
comes on,
brain.
I can even sing.
Yeah, that
Katy
is,
Perry, watch
yeah.
out.
I love that description. Something just switches it on in your entrepreneurial brain. But yeah, it does make you feel like you can take on the world, doesn't it? When you hear that one song. And I love the fact that this podcast has this playlist that we can all just sort of whack on whenever we're feeling a bit low. But yeah, I love that description. And what about a motivational quote?
So I like life as a journey,
Mhm.
because I think there's a lot of times in life where we really do feel low, or we might need a bit more encouragement or support. Um, and I just think, there are ups and downs, and don't get me wrong, there are people that have more downs than ups, and vice versa, people that have more money, less money. There's very individual circumstances, but it is a journey, and I think we can learn from every situation in life, whether it is something really, really great or something really, really bad. We can learn from our mistakes. We can learn from things that fail, whether they're businesses, courses that we take. It's not failure, it's progression, isn't it? So I just like that saying, because I think it's a reminder that life is a journey. There's no right or wrong way to do it.
Mhm.
It happens, and we just have to jump on for the ride, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, that I love that. And it makes you think that it's a journey that just keeps going, and that's you've just got to keep going. And I like the way you described it. You're always going to be trying something new or doing a new course, or there's always a new thing. And it might sound a little bit cliche, but you really don't know what's around the next corner. But I like the fact that you've made me visualize a sort of never-ending path, that it just keeps going, and you just never know what's coming up, do you? So I really
Yeah.
like your description, the way you describe things.
It can
And
go off in any way, can't it? But
yeah, and I think that is a nice way to think of it, because sometimes bad things do happen, and you need to always have that hope that you just don't know what's around the corner, and it's nice to cling on to that, because like, it's simply that life is a journey,
yeah,
and you've just got to keep going and keep going and keep going. So, do you read?
I I I never used to read, and I blame a school teacher way back when I was in secondary school, and I used to love. I'm a horsey girl, and I used to have my own horse, and I used to love reading Ginny Elliott and Black Beauty and Black Ebony and all the other horsey books are out there. And the teacher turned around to my mum and said, it's great that Lucy's reading. However, she needs to read something different, something other than horsey books and stuff about horses. I don't know whether it was that or not, but I think from that day on, I didn't really fall in love with any other books because my mum did what the teacher had said, and I'd do the same with my son. And I sort of, she said, oh, you can't read horsey books anymore, read something different. And I just didn't really have an interest in anything else. And I've never really sort of been that into reading unless I go on holiday or, something really captures me, a bit like those horsey books back in the day. I don't read them anymore, but so in more recent years, especially since, all the lockdown, schmockdown stuff, um, I have a lot of business acquaintances that have written their own books and recommended books for personal growth, business growth, and things like that. So I've kind of found a love for reading again, and also been a part of a book as well,
Oh, wow.
or a couple of books. So over that period, and so it's really sort of helped me fall back in love with reading again. So yeah, of late, I've tried to read different things other than personal development books.
Do you know
Um,
what a shame for that teacher? Because that I would have thought I would have let a kid read whatever they wanted,
yeah.
no matter what they were, as long as they were reading, it didn't really matter. Like my youngest, she discovered Harry Potter when she was 9, and
Oh,
and everyone would have been like, oh, it gets a bit grim around book 5, but obviously she was growing older as she was working her way through the books. But to this day, she still loves Harry Potter, and she was reading them and reading them. But unfortunately, you were dissuaded from reading. But if I was the teacher, I would have said, "Well, as long as she's reading, doesn't matter
yeah.
what it is." Oh, what a shame that put you
And
off.
I think I must have been about 14, 15. And if you think about it, no, maybe a bit younger, maybe 13, 14, year 8, year 9, and that's quite an influential age,
Yeah,
I think,
and you
for
probably could have
girls.
progressed on to the Jilly Cooper stuff, didn't she? Write a book.
Yes. Even though I still would have been reading Black Beauty at 40 years of age.
Oh, what a shame. Well, I'm glad you've rediscovered it anyway. And wow, to have been part of a book, and you've got business acquaintances that have written books. I have as well, and I always like to try and support them by buying
Yes.
their books. And I just think, wow, I know someone that's written a book. It's just incredible. So moving on to you and your business then, can you give us a brief overview of what you're currently working on and what it is you do?
So I've got any little thing in the background. I've got a business partner, Lisa. We work on that together, and we've really made a difference locally to elderly people, the elderly generation, and how they live. So we empower, we give people or help promote independence. So we will go in and do a lot of the things that carers back in the day when we set up the business 2016, at the end of 2016, I think. Um, there was a lot of care companies that didn't do what we did. So we do a lot of cleaning, we'll take people to appointments, pick up prescriptions, household chores, be an extra pair of ears and eyes and support. We don't do any medication or personal care needs. So that's where the care companies do it. But over the years, care companies have started doing more of what we're doing, but they don't really want to do what we're doing. So we're not threatened by that at all. The more people that help in the elderly generation, the better. But yeah, so and in that time, we've had a lot of questions. We get a lot of people that just don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. So at the beginning of the year, I started up a new project, which is kind of related to that, where I work with people that either are busy professionals or have busy lifestyles, or they own their own business, anyone really, but mainly those people. And they haven't got the time to research. They haven't got the time to look into where their loved ones should be, could be, what ifs, all of the things. And I will look at their situation and work with them one to one to actually get them on the right path, get them where they want to be, so that we can relieve that kind of stress and anxiety around finding the right care. And because there's a lot of people that don't know what they're entitled to, and they don't know how they can help their parents, and they don't know how to get it. So that's the idea. And I've got a wonderful day coming up at the end of the year. Well, it's not the end of the year, actually. It's not far away. I can't believe Christmas isn't that far
I
away.
know.
Um, in November, very beginning of November, where I'm doing a spa retreat day. So I promote um, looking after yourself before you look after others, or at least at the same time, because if you don't look after yourself, then you haven't got the time, the energy, or the health to look after other people. So that's the reason why it's been held at a spa. And I'm really looking forward to that. So that's an in-person day where people can work with me one-to-one. We can work through those problems, but it's not one-to-one consultation. It's done in a nice, relaxing environment. Plus, added bonus, I love a spa. So
What's not to love?
yeah, who doesn't love a spa? So yeah, that's later in the year. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, it's been a manic time.
Well, I just thinking, reflecting on what you said there, it sounds incredible. And I always think back to what the cabin crew tell you when you're on the plane. Put your
Yes,
mask on before you put someone else's on. And
definitely.
as a parent, it's horrific to think of putting your own mask on before your child. And it's the same for caring for a parent. As you've just said, you cannot look after anyone else unless you are physically fit and capable. And you've got to think clearly and make the right decisions. And I think that's the first time I've ever heard that in that industry, what you just described, this spa, this retreat. And I just think, wow, that's incredible. And I imagine also that if you are responsible for care for your parents, it's a shocking state to be in because obviously
Mm.
you've been dealt a blow of some sort and you've got to make these arrangements and I wouldn't know where to begin. And to offer that service and to think, well, you've just described benefits, the best facilities, geographical locations, the best care for specific conditions. And I just thought, wow, that's incredible. And I absolutely wish you all the best with that. It's just made me think of another area where I haven't had to consider before, but absolutely
Yeah,
look after the carers, and that will make their lives a lot easier and help them with that transition.
yeah. It's it's definitely something that is kind of neglected in a way. I mean, don't get me wrong, I won't get on my soapbox or my um but there are a lot of areas that need attention across the nation. There probably are in many different countries, and we're very lucky to live in the UK, but I think it's one of the areas that does get kind of pushed to one side sometimes, and it's sad. It shouldn't be like that.
Mhm.
Our elderly generation have done so much for us,
Yeah.
and kind of set the path in front of us. So it really does make me sad that families do have to do that intense kind of research and put the time into to caring for their elderly loved ones. But that's how it is. So I'm on a mission to help as
Well,
many as I
you've
can.
got I mean, cliche, but the world's your oyster. You've got so much potential there to raise awareness and educate people like me. And, because someday we're going to be faced with those choices. And I am a person that will research or I will look for someone to help me with the research. And, there's going to be people like me out there that want to know, and I'm not the kind of person to bury my head in the sand either. So it's just really interesting. But the fact that you brought this up and I've had to think, wow, I hadn't considered that. But no, it's an interesting one to watch, definitely.
Mm.
So what about your leadership journey then? And have you got any key milestones that have shaped your career to bring you to this point?
Yeah, I think I have a lot of my clients in the past because I started my care journey or being a carer and working privately with adults with special needs and complex needs. So I've got to thank them a lot for who I am today and where I'm at today. Um, but there was a time when I worked at a care company with my business partner Lisa, and we had awful issues there with not getting paid enough for what we were doing.
Mhm.
We were managing a centre for adults with special needs and also elderly with dementia in their sister branch. And we weren't treated very nicely at all. And I was younger than most of the people that I was managing. And so that definitely hardened me up a little bit for where I am now, because getting that respect and actually communicating with them well enough, but also them communicating with me how they felt and what it was just a really, really hard time. And we moved on from there, and I sort of stepped away from management roles and delegating, and was working at a print company randomly just to, you know, fill in the gap, so to speak. But then I got made redundant, and that's when the idea came up of Any Little Thing. And I took Lisa for coffee and cake, and she's never looked back. What we should do is we should set up our own business, and she's like, or service, and she's like, oh, okay. And here we are today, 7 years later. But
Oh,
I
wow.
think there's many, many things that have probably contributed towards where I am today, how I delegate myself now, and how I manage the staff, and how I communicate. And I couldn't possibly tell you all of them because they've all just come together,
Mhm.
and here we are today.
It's
But
incredible, isn't it, when you think back to those first conversations and that little seed of creativity and I love that the sentence, what if? What
I
if
know.
we did this? What if we did that?
Yeah.
And when you think back to those conversations and you think, how did I get to this point from that point in that
Yes.
conversation? And it's an incredible journey, but you're right, all the little interactions, conversations, all of those things culminate to bring you to this exact point where you are today.
Yes.
And I kind of love that theory, that idea. And don't want to sound like a cliche again, but my personal belief is that everything happens for a reason. You meet people for a reason. You learn from people every day, and you've just said it, that all a culmination of all those things is what brings you to that idea, that that business idea or whatever. But I love that you can reflect on that conversation, that coffee and cake,
Yes.
and bring you to this point.
I don't know whether she loves me or hates me for it, but
Well,
here
I
we
think
are.
you've got far to go with that one. So, have you had anyone that's inspired you or any role models along the way?
I've had a lot of people inspire me along the way. I think in more recent years, it's been those business acquaintances that have come forward and either supported me in my business or encouraged me to grow it. People like that in the business world that inspire me, but then people that I've worked with that have really inspired me. Yes, so and now in the latter years, it's been business women, fellow women in business. I've got to be honest. I probably am a little bit of a feminist deep down, but I'm like, yeah, you go, girl. And you think, well,
Yeah.
if they can do whatever they're doing and work towards that goal or achieve what they have said they've set out to achieve, then why can't I do that? And
Hmm.
then on top of that, I've got sort of like this elderly generation that I work with, and I watch them and I listen to them, and they say, it feels like yesterday. My son was 6 years old. Life flashes before you, and you think, oh my God, like. So I do have to also keep myself quite under control because, and my business partner's good at doing that because I those two things clash
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
I've got to do this and this. But yes, over the years, I would say, many of my clients have inspired me as well as, uh, my hardworking family, but also the hard women and men
Hmm.
around me. Let's not be sexist.
But
But
it is nice though to have those inspirations around you, and I'm the same. I've always looked for inspiration, and I love it when you find someone and it just ignites something in you. But you said it, if they can do it, I can do it too. And I
yes,
always, no matter if anyone's achieved it, you do think, well, I can do it, but you have moments of doubt, don't you? You think, well, I can't possibly do that. And then I like the fact that these people are there to prove that thought wrong, that you can change. And you think, well, no, actually, you're lying to yourself. You're being, if they can do it, you can do it. But
yeah.
yeah, it is nice to be so inspired and to constantly look for that inspiration as well. So, how important do you think communication is in leadership? And can you think of any examples where it's gone right or wrong? I imagine the world that you work in, it's got to be very precise.
Yes, I have worked as a healthcare assistant in the NHS. I've worked personally in a family alongside someone with complex needs. I now work with elderly people who may develop things like, I don't know, water infections, dementia, Alzheimer's. It Communication for me is a big one. And I learned a very big lesson years ago. I can't remember who said it to me, but you should always be honest. And if you're not sure, ask. If you get it wrong, put your hands up. And actually, ever since that day that that person said that to me, and I was very young, I think I was sort of 20. So we're looking 20 years ago now. I have to say that every time I've put that into practice, it's never served me wrong, because it's embarrassing if you get something wrong.
Mm.
But if you just let it fester and get worse and you don't confess, either someone else is going to get the blame, it's going to come out eventually and you look like a liar, or whether it may be. But so that's one thing I think is really important about communication, to be honest and hold your hand up if you have got something wrong, or if you don't understand something. But yes, in the care industry and in what we do, particularly when you are a carer performing personal care medication needs, or in hospitals as a healthcare assistant or nurse, whatever it may be, if you don't communicate with each other, it's detrimental to that person's health. I think communication, if I'm honest, blows everything else out of the water. You can be a leader, you can be a manager, you can be a CEO of a company, but well, it's unlikely you're going to get there if you haven't communicated. But I worked in the
Well,
public sector.
sometimes you do wonder, don't you?
Yeah, I have worked in the public sector. Let's part that there. So I don't necessarily think that's always the case. But, if you don't communicate properly, then it's just detrimental to everyone that's involved,
Mhm,
either health or progression.
mhm,
Um, you get it with head teachers in schools as well, don't you?
mhm.
If you haven't got a good communicator, if someone doesn't communicate how they feel or what they're doing well enough, then everything underneath just goes to pot. So I think as a leader or someone that is, you know, at the top of the company or the service, the business, whatever it may be, communication is extremely important
Mhm.
to ensure that you're going to get mistakes, things are going to go wrong, but to try and eliminate anything bad happening, basically.
No, it's true, and I completely agree with you about that advice you were given. If you have to hold your hands up, be honest, and admit your mistakes, because my view on that is there's nowhere else to go. If you
Mm.
come out and say, "Yeah, I made this mistake. I'm really sorry. Give me the opportunity to put it right," there's nowhere else to go after that.
Yes.
If you start hiding, people can dig and dig and dig, and that advice has served me well, actually. And it also helps with your strengthen your relationships, because we're allowed to make mistakes. Hopefully we don't make mistakes, but we're human and we will make mistakes. But that has served me well.
Yeah.
Hands up, apologize, and really and truly, there's nowhere else to go, and you can fix it quicker as well
Yeah.
if you do, admit your mistakes and move on. But for that, there's nowhere else to go, even if someone's coming after you with something.
Yeah.
And I think integrity and honesty and authenticity, the values that'll serve you well. And to have learned that lesson, as you said, so young, that was probably the best advice you were ever given.
Now I'm like, yep, sorry, that was me.
Yeah, there'll be circumstances in all of our lives where genuinely there's nowhere else to go. Like if you're at school and you try to cover the fact that you didn't do your homework, and the teacher says, "Where's your homework?" And if you say, "I didn't do it," well, there's nowhere else to go. Do it tomorrow. Okay. But if you lie and say, "Oh, get it," or whatever, do you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
the honesty and just holding your hands up and admitting it. And that will carry on through the business world. Things will go wrong in your business, and
Yeah.
you just gotta have that good relationship with your client. So how comfortable are you with your audience, and being sensitive with the audience that you have? Are you comfortable speaking in public? Do you have a social media presence? How do you promote your business?
I am very, very much on the social media. My business partner is not. Sometimes I love it and sometimes I hate it.
I love the way you describe things, honestly.
It's
You
like
should
Marmite.
definitely write more.
Um, I appreciate that you have to be present so that people can see you. It's very challenging these days because people apparently only listen for about 30 seconds now. A couple of years ago, it was 60 seconds, so you could do a reel or a short video for a minute and everyone would take it in. Now, apparently, you've got 30 seconds, which is just absolutely shocking.
Mhm.
What does that say about us all? But
And our
I
attention spans that are
yeah,
diminishing daily. Yeah.
but it's really weird for me, and I'm happy to share this because hopefully it'll make me overcome my fear. I did some work with a lady that was helping me with my emails and email funnels and everything, and we set up a strategy for me to go onto my different social media platforms and do something different on them. Maybe not every day, but something different on one of them each day. And the thought of going live on my personal Facebook profile, I found terrifying. And I still do. But if you ask me to go live on my personal profile tomorrow, I say, oh, can I just go on Instagram? And I don't know why that is. I think because Facebook started first and everyone that I know or have ever known is on Facebook. We all know the algorithms will feed that to whoever they fancy. So it probably my close friends probably wouldn't even see me go live anyway. I don't know what it is. It's
I
very,
think
very
there
weird.
needs to be a name for it. And whether I dreamt it or I made it up, and I've had this conversation with some interesting people over the past few weeks. There is people like us. We're happy to do it with potential customers and
Yes.
strangers, go live and do these videos. But for some reason, when it comes to friends and family, it's no. We don't want to mix the two worlds, and that's probably what it is. And
Yeah.
I've got another friend in the world, and she described this as well. And she put a post on her personal Facebook page and just owned it and said, I'm changing to professional. Things are going to get a little bit cringy, but I'm just going to do it. And she did, it was quite painful, but she did it. And then after a short time, she got used to it. And she's got like 800 followers
Yeah.
and but went through the pain barrier and did it. But I did see another post where someone was actually addressing this about relatives and
Yeah.
friends. And it is funny. It's like if you think of your family and your work colleagues, you'd never in a million years mix them, would you? Because you're a different
Oh,
person when you're at work. And I think it's that. So if you can keep your business work
really?
separate to your friends and family, I'd going on video doesn't bother me. I can do lives if I need to. I don't really need to, and if I do, I feel if I'm doing a live, I feel like I'm like knocking when people are having their dinner, going, "Hey, I'm here, listen to me." So I'm happy to record a quick video and put it up. But I think it's that, and someone needs to come up with a word to differentiate friends and
Yeah.
family from work.
It's when I come up with it, I'll let you know and we
Yes,
can share it.
yes, because I like your style. You've summarized things really, really good, really well. But I think there's some kind of phenomenon there. But and maybe because we know that our friends and family know our true selves, but
Yes.
to the business world or potential clients, we're putting on this professional front, and sometimes, well, most of the time, because you're trying to sell, you're trying to be professional. Your family and friends will see through that, but but you've got to do that. You've got to be the best version of yourself when you're
Yeah.
selling or when you're speaking or whatever. Maybe I'm being too deep, I don't know, but it is
Oh, not
interesting.
at all.
Everyone says what you just said.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's just very, very odd. Or if I was to post a video to my personal profile, I don't mind that so much either.
Hmm.
And I can see the names flashing up. You're like, oh gosh, she's watching. Oh God, he's watching. What does it matter? Like they're probably fed up with seeing my face anyway, because I'm everywhere talking on some medium about something.
Well, that's what I was saying about the podcast. That the stats that I get on this, they're anonymous, so I can tell which country they're coming from, and I'm quite happy with that. But it doesn't tell me that Auntie Mary
Who
is
they
what
are.
so
Announce yourself.
but it's just such an interesting phenomenon, isn't it? And I think every person struggles with that. But
But
yeah,
what I will say is if you want to succeed or if you want to help as many people as you can, if you want to push for those goals, then some of the people that I learn from, some of my mentors, you've got to push through that.
yeah,
What does it matter what anyone thinks? Because if you tie that in then with life being a journey and life being precious and you know that constant review of like what have I achieved or what am I going to achieve in life, if you don't push through that barrier, then you're never going to, are you? And
exactly. And
then
the
you just stay where
pushing
you are.
through the discomfort is where the success is. And also, who's going to champion you more than your friends and family?
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to be. Well, Well, maybe I'll get a psychologist on one day, and then they can
Yes,
talk.
definitely. They can explain it to us.
That would be a good one. So, what legacy and impact do you hope to leave, and how do you measure the impact of your leadership?
I think it's changed a few times, over the years since running Any Little Thing and now obviously having all these other ideas. And ultimately, it's all about setting an example for my son now. They're as much as we would like to say or think that it's changed, women do struggle sometimes to do everything, do all of the things, because we are expected to do all of the things now. Like we are the home, we do everything in the house. Well, not everything, but a lot of things in the house. We provide the dinner, cook the dinner, whatever. We look after the children, but then we're also working full time or running a business. And yeah, I've got friends, and I won't name and shame, but they work for companies and they are still very much pro men and not women. And I think having a son, which I wasn't expecting, by the way, I thought I was going to have a girl, reject, but I was like, oh, I've got one boy's name, about 10 girls' names. Um, I think it's important for him to see that mummy and daddy both work hard,
Mhm.
but he's come to work with me over the years. He did when he up until he was 18 months old, and still now he sometimes comes with me to some of my customers' houses if during the school holidays. So that's what I'm trying to sort of probably set legacy wise. I want to show him that women work hard too, and look how successful mummy is as well as daddy, not just daddy. And I've got a few demons that surround that all the time, but I'm determined. But I think goal wise, I would love for Any Little Thing to be like a leading household, like a nationwide household brand, because we've got bigger visions and we have bigger goals because of what we see when we're out on the road and how we see people are treated, and thinking about the future when I'm elderly. Hopefully I'll be so lucky to reach, 80, 90 years of age. So I would like very much to build something that changes everything up and make sure that the future is positive. So yeah, they're probably my two main things.
That is a lovely legacy to describe and be a good example, a good role model for your son, and it's important for them to see these things in action rather than just hear the words, and the fact that he's out with you and he sees it, and yeah,
Yeah.
that just sounds
And
absolutely
actually,
incredible.
it's paid off already, I will say, because he is very empathetic. And if he comes to a customer's house now with me, bearing in mind we do a lot of cleaning, we everything else is up to now. We've got that great reputation. But I took colouring books with me one time, and I said, "Oh, you're going to sit in the little nook and do some colouring?" "Oh no, mummy, I'm going to clean the house with you." So, "Oh, okay then."
Oh,
If I
oh,
asked him to clean here, he wouldn't do it. But
yeah, that's
helping my elderly
adorable.
customer, yeah.
Oh wow, oh bless him. Well,
So it's
that's
paid off
just
already.
lovely. Yeah. Oh wow, that is amazing. And one of the that's something that you're never going to forget. And it's a story that
No,
you'll retell when he's older as well. Oh, that is
yeah, that's true.
adorable. Bless
When
him.
he's a smelly teenager.
Yeah. And he'll have long forgotten. Oh wow. So, where can we find out more about you and your business online? And I'll put these
Well,
in the show notes, by the way, for the podcast.
like I say, I mean, I don't know. There's not many social media platforms I'm not on, but I'm trying to become friends with LinkedIn. So I'm Lucy Piper, elderly care expert on there, and then Instagram, I am _ Lucy Piper _. So I think if you put in Lucy Piper, you'll see me pop up. And then Facebook, Lucy Piper. We've obviously got Any Little Thing. So we do have a website, which is www.anylittlething.co.uk. And I have got a private Facebook group, which is free. It's just a little bit more personal, finding the right care for your elderly loved ones, which you will find if you come and find me on Facebook anyway. Because I talk about it all the time, and there's lots of little links that I drop to keep helping people where I can. But yeah, it's all on any of those platforms, because I was starting to get stressed out because I was thinking, where shall I post this? Shall I post it? And I've just decided now we've got different types of people that follow on different platforms. So I do put a little bit extra into my private group and sometimes different bits on my personal profile, but I try and keep it all consistent.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's just another thing, isn't it? To
Yeah, another beast to feed. But that sounds wonderful. But yeah, that the different people that are on different platforms, that sounds like you've covered all the bases. So I'll put those links on the show notes. And thank you, Lucy. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved hearing your story and your very beautiful way of summarizing things. And I think you should write a book of your own.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I have got an ebook that I also talk about, and it just walks people through the steps of finding the right care. And I would like to expand on that. I would like
Yeah.
to expand on that. So I would pull in different experts and expand on what I've got to offer there. But it's definitely on the list of things to do.
Well, watch this space. And thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Thank you for listening today, and special thanks to my amazing guest, Lucy Piper, for sharing her fascinating story with us. If you want to get more exposure for your business, don't miss out on my free resources. You can find the links in the podcast notes, as well as the links that Lucy also mentioned in the podcast. Join me on the next episode for more incredible stories and insights. You can follow me on Instagram at Coach Amanda Jane, or visit my website, amandajane.co.uk. Bye for now.